Hello and welcome to the very first of our City Cottage Cookery School lessons. Today we're going to be making some very simple soup from leftovers. It's chicken and leek soup, and it's made from leftover chicken and some rather old leeks that I should have used up a few days ago. But welcome and enjoy. Sometimes when we've had a roast chicken dinner, we have quite a bit of chicken left over, and it's lovely to have it the next day on a sandwich or in some other hot dish. But sometimes you've had such a greedy day that you don't have too much left over. And that's what happened with us. I want to feed four very hungry people with that. And yes, it probably would do, but I would sooner make it go further. And the ingredients are literally chicken, leek, you can either use a potato to give it texture and body, but I like to use some brown rice because it just gives it that extra bit of vitamin content. All you do with these leeks is, yes, take the outer one off. You can see they still need a wash. And then just trim it, and then just make your way into the centre until you find that it almost looks like a fresh leek. And it won't take too far to go into the centre to find that you've probably got a very edible vegetable. Now we're going to add our knob of butter and just melt it gently in the pan. And once all the butter's melted, you can just add your leeks. Now we don't want these to fry particularly, we want them to what we call sweat, and that means all the goodness coming out of them. And I'm going to add my thyme at this point, because that will start to flavour the soup as it heats. Now give it a good stir so that all the butter covers and coats your leeks. So now we're going to put the lid on and leave it for about 8 minutes. We're going to add the stock, but I know that this pan is hot. I'll just get my towel out so I can use it, and I'm going to use it for both hands because it's quite heavy, and I'm always conscious when lifting pans how heavy they are when they're full of liquid or soup or whatever is inside them. And then just gently pour in your hot stock. The reason it's hot is that it takes less time to come to the boil. It's one of those things that I do just as my leeks or my vegetables are sautéing, and it just takes less time. Now I'm starting just to add probably about a teaspoon of salt. It's for 4 people, but we've not added any salt. I didn't add any to the stock. If you have added it to the stock, check and put half a teaspoon in first and taste it and see if it's salty enough. You can always add more, but you can't take it away as easily. But a big tip, if you do put a little bit too much salt in, you're a bit concerned, chop up a potato and boil it with the soup and then remove them, and that takes away a little bit of the salt. Now I'm going to add a bit of crushed black pepper because I love black pepper, and it goes so well in the soup. Now then we're going to bring this to the boil and then let it simmer for about 25 to 30 minutes on its own with no chicken in it. The chicken goes in it at the end. Well, probably about 10 minutes before the end, because it's already been cooked. You don't want to cook out all the flavour. day we had a bit of gravy left over, and I knew I was making some soup today, so just add it to your soup, because it's literally little bits of chicken and the stock, and it was thickened slightly. Now, in probably a chicken and leek soup, it wouldn't classically have any gravy in it, but this isn't MasterChef. This is good family food, and we don't waste anything. If you don't want to put it in the freezer. Don't waste it. It'll come into use when you have another roast chicken. It's coming to the boil now. I'm just going to give it a quick stir. I'm going to add my rice, which is about 4 tablespoons, because this is going to be for 4 people. If you want it much thicker and a sturdier soup, if it's winter time particularly, add another couple of tablespoons. It doesn't really matter, but you might need to season it a little bit more. And then, because I want to add that little bit of gravy, I'm just going to add that. It's not a necessity, it's just a way of using it up. So I'm going to put that into my soup as well. That will add flavour and goodness, and it won't be wasted. You can see it's quite gelatinous, so it's full of good chicken flavour. Now that will have to come to the boil again. Now once that comes to the boil, we turn it down, put a lid on, and then we'll leave it. Because it doesn't need stirring anymore, we'll leave it as it is for about 25 minutes. Chicken in, just turn the temperature up slightly. Just drop your chicken into your soup. I'm going to put the lid back on and just leave it for about 5 more minutes just to simmer, so that the chicken reaches the same temperature as the soup. So I'll just turn it up a bit because the lid's been off, so it had lost its simmer. So we'll just bring it back to simmering, and then just leave it for about 5 minutes. If it's a little longer, don't worry, it's not an exact time. Right, it's simmering now, so we'll just leave it for another 5 minutes, and then we'll turn it off and leave it to cool. Now this is ready, and I'm going to turn it off the heat now, and then put it to the back of the cooker, and then just leave it to go cold. And then it won't need to be in, so long as you don't take the lid off, just leave it. Tomorrow you can leave it out of the fridge, and then tomorrow bring it back to a simmer, not to a boil. Bring it to a simmer to keep all the flavour in. If you start to boil it, it does impair the flavour. Always keep it to a minimum, the heat, when you're reheating something, but make sure you leave it for about 5 minutes simmering to come to a good temperature. It's got to be piping hot before you serve it. If you wanted to make this into something slightly more special, add a bit of cream, bit of double cream, and it will give it a little bit of a gloss and a bit of thickening. But you don't have to, it'll be delicious.